want to be desired just like this cool girl in this movie once she took her glasses off. But then it's like, no.
I actually don't think that helped at all. And I got a lot blurrier, so I was like, "Is that
Yeah,
even
yeah.
sexy? I don't know." Welcome to the Girlfriend, the Sex Object, the Nag, the podcast. I am your host, Maria Shahada. I'm a comedian, writer, actor living in London.
And I am Kat Reinhardt. I am your other host. I am a writer, director, editor living in Los Angeles.
This podcast is about female characters in the movies we loved growing up, and we just take a look at them and review how they were written and kind of analyze why we're now screwed up.
Did she arc? How did she age? Not the actress playing the part, but the actual literal written character.
Does she have a life, family, friends? Is she like, you get it. We're going to review all those women written by men.
Did I just want to be her because she was desired by men, or was there anything actually interesting or cool about her?
This week's different. We're doing something a little different. We are both doing Wuthering Heights, but just different years.
We had a little bit of a miscommunication problem in that Maria is somehow unaware that there is a Wuthering Heights in theaters right now.
I knew about it. I just didn't, I was unaware that that was the one we were doing. I was like, you
Like,
want me to go and pay for a movie and like go watch a movie? Like, that's a lot you're asking of me. And you did it. Sorry.
I did
But
it. I had already seen it, not for the purpose of the podcast, but just my mom friends and I wanted a movie night. But spoilers ahead, I think we all thought there would be like a lot more just like fun sex scenes.
there weren't, that's too bad. 1939 one was a porn.
Really?
No, not at all. They alluded to sex. It was like, I don't even know if they kissed actually. But it'd be like,
I mean, there was lots of sex,
fill
but it
your
just
arms with heather and give it to me.
but I'm curious how you settled on the 1939 one because aren't there a bunch of Wuthering Heights?
Are there?
I think so.
Christ. Okay. How many movie there have been there have been over 30 to 35 film and television adaptations of Wuthering Heights.
So yeah, so how did you settle on that one?
I saw it on Now TV's list of things to watch.
Okay.
I thought it was just the two. I didn't know that there had been okay, so there was 1970 starring Timothy Dalton, 1992 starring Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Binoche. I should have watched that one. I love both these actors.
They probably have sex in that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then she's probably slut shamed because it's the 90s. So you're doing 2026 and I'm doing 1939, which I think was the first one. Must have been the first one.
Gotta start somewhere. The only reason I know there's so many adaptations of Wuthering Heights is because Heathcliff, who in the book is clearly a person of color, I think is played by a white man in every version.
Yeah, they said something in 1939. What did they call him? That suggested he was black. It
But he
was,
was white.
but he was white. He was played by Laurence Olivier. But he's still white, right? Laurence Olivier.
Laurence Olivier race. Caucasian
It was very clear he was supposed to be like a gypsy boy, but it was very clear he was supposed to be not white.
Okay, so in the 2026 version, they didn't even
They didn't even
pretend.
touch on that.
But apparently in the book, which I have not read, it's part of the story is that he is not white, which is why he's like poor, which is why he's this like lesser than, and that's why it's more of a scandal and why it's more of a thing that they can't be together. It's integral to the story that he's not white. And he's always played by a white guy, which 1939, not okay, but that checks out. 2026, I was surprised that they're still playing this game.
That is actually really surprising. I mean, I think it works with the white guy if you're just going by class, but you're right. Considering the times, it's even more of a scandal. I mean, it kind of has like a Cinderella vibe. He's kind of treated like a unwanted stepsister.
I'm curious how yours is set up.
I feel like I must have fallen asleep or something. I feel like I missed something because it was like they were kids. So first of all, the first scene is a man. Did they do this? I wonder if they did this in the current film. There's a man that like showed up because it was like stormy, snowy weather, and there was text from that was probably from the book that was like, outside of Liverpool, England, there is a house that nobody dared come upon because it was so spooky or whatever. But it was so stormy, the stranger just comes and walks inside. I don't know how he's able to just walk inside. I don't know if this house is supposed to be a hotel or whatever. And they're the most unwelcoming people. Like, he walks in and the dog's, like, biting him, and then Heathcliff and his wife, like, look at the guy. They're, like, staring into a fireplace. That's how they're passing the time. They're just staring into the fireplace, which is how I imagine people in the 1800s to pass time. Then he shows up and they just look, and he's like, "Hi. Could I, like, get a cup of tea or something?" And then the wife has to go get it, and, like, she has the most miserable face on her, like, she's like, "Well, I guess that's me." It's actually really funny. But then that was just a device to tell the story, that's just a framing device. So she then, because he stays in this room, it's haunted, he hears Kathy calling for Heathcliff. Did they get do any of this in the current film?
Well, we went to dinner first, so we were like 20 minutes late.
Cat.
So
Well, at the end, did they go back to, like, some older people talking? Were you like, "Who are these people?"
no.
To dinner first.
Okay, so I worked on the promos for Wuthering Heights. So I had the movie for a while. It's not my kind of movie, so I didn't watch it other than like if they were like, we need a shot of her drinking champagne. I would scrub through the reels to find it. I started watching one night I like was done with my edits and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start Wuthering Heights. I'm gonna watch this. This is in my edit bay. And the opening scene of the 2026 Wuthering Heights was so fucking disturbing. I hated it so much. It was a guy being hung.
Wow.
So that's how they open it, and it's like the bag on his face, like the inhale, and then he gets a hard on, and all the kids like being while he's hanging there, struggling, like dying, and all the children are pointing and laughing. It's a very
What the
emerald.
fuck?
Yeah. So that was the opening scene of the 2026 Wuthering Heights, and I was like, this movie's just not for me. I never even saw Saltburn. I saw and loved Promising Young Woman, but I had heard about Saltburn and was just like, okay, that's her thing is to just do really shocking things. And I'm like, that's not really my thing. Totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I watched that opening scene and I was just like, I just don't have the stomach for this. I was like, I don't want to watch this movie after that opening scene. So that I know that's how it opens is
I
with that
cannot
like
for the life of me think how that applies to the rest of the movie. I'm really looking forward to hearing how it ends, so
well
I
the
can
whole
see if maybe it ties together. By the
right.
way, we spoil everything, everyone. We keep forgetting to say that at the
Yes, we
front.
spoil everything, yes, but the whole time I'm watching the movie in the theater, I'm like, "Oh god, are they gonna hang Heathcliff at the end?" Like,
Yeah,
someone's gonna hang, right? Because
yeah.
it's like, movies usually it's like the opening image and, like, the reverse image. So the whole time I'm, like, sitting there, like, with this pit in my stomach, like, am I gonna fall in love with this couple and then watch one of them be hung in this, like, really disturbing way? But so I knew that was the opening shot, and I knew I didn't wanna see that again, and then I knew there was, like, gonna be 17-ish minutes of just, like, these 2 little kids running around with these, like, beautiful cinematic shots. The cinematography is just beautiful. I do know the opening shot is a man being hung in this very disturbing, fucked up scene, and then we got there, they were still kids. Heathcliff and Kathy are out playing in the rain. The boy, Heathcliff, he's scared of Kathy's dad, you know it because he's like, "We have to get back." And she's like, "No, we don't." And then they get back, and the father, who's this drunk asshole, is like, "You've missed my birthday. What the fuck?" And Heathcliff is like, "It's my fault. She loves you and was talking about your birthday." Send the girls outside and lock the door, and then like you can hear the dad just beat the shit out of Heathcliff to the point where he has scars on his back. And he still has them when he's an adult. It's like a very disturbing. You only hear it, but it's like a child being beaten behind a door. It's like very
That's
disturbing.
horrible, but it's also, like, ridiculous that the dad was like, "You missed my birthday."
Yeah, and he's like this creepy drunk asshole, and then match cut to his scarred up back, and now they're adults.
Now I'm looking up who played the
In 2026,
Yeah.
Jacob Elordi.
Okay, you say that like I'm supposed to know who that is?
Well, I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who he was, and I'm working on the promos, right? And
Yeah,
you would love him because he's really tall, but
okay.
I was just like, "Okay, this is just a person," and, but I texted my mom group, and I was like, "Is Jacob Elordi a thing?" And I got roasted for, like I'm still getting roasted for asking that question. I've never seen Euphoria. I guess he's in Euphoria. He got nominated for an Oscar for Frankenstein, but I haven't seen Frankenstein, I haven't seen Euphoria, and I didn't know who he was, but he's just tall and gorgeous.
He's Australian, I could see by that mullet.
But a lot of people were mad that he was cast because he's white, and then a lot of other people are mad because Margot Robbie they think is too old 'Cause apparently she's supposed to be, like, 20. They're supposed to be really young. I she's beautiful, he's hot, like, isn't that the whole point? I'll buy this. I had no issue with her casting. I mean, she's the producer, it's her fucking movie. She can it's alright that she's not 20, but a lot of
I will be
people
60 redoing Wuthering Heights and putting myself in it. Fuck all of you.
I mean, it's Margot Robbie, like, she's, like, one of the hottest people on the planet. It's okay that she's 35. Sorry, that was a very long roundabout way for me to tell you that I'm not 100% sure that the movie didn't use the same framing device as yours, but I'm, like, 99% sure that it did.
Okay.
The 1939 version does not open with a man being hung in the town square.
No, it's a man walking through a snowstorm. Much nicer, but although the way he was treated when he asked for tea was almost as bad as being hung, like, the hospitality was abysmal. They put him in a room that had, like, the window was broken, and there was nobody slept here for years, and the bed was all dusty, and he was like, "Okay, good night," to the person who showed him his room, and then the guy, like, just pops his head back in for no reason, and he's like, "I said goodnight." Run me through, like, the basic plot and how it ends, because 'cause I'm so curious.
The first act is basically their children, and they're adults living in Kathy's father's property, and Heathcliff is the help, and he's just hot. He just has, like, long hair, and he just, like, shovels hay, sweating with his shirt off. Sexual tension for a while, and then one night, Kathy hears the staff, like, having sex. There's a guy who puts a muzzle on this woman, and they have, like, dirty sex, and she's spying on them from a crack on the floor, and then
Wait, is it Heathcliff having sex with the woman or
no,
just the help?
it's another guy. Yeah, it's another guy.
The help's always fucking.
The help's always fucking, it's just the help fucking the help, and she's, like, spying on them through the cracks in the floor, and Heathcliff comes up behind her and, like, puts his hands over her like this, and is, like, on it's, like, just really hot.
Is that when they first have sex?
No. And
Oh.
then that was it. I guess the next day, she, like, runs off and hides behind this rock and masturbates. Probably not a female masturbation, the 1939 one.
No, there were rocks. I watched the way worse one.
So she runs and, like, masturbates in front of this giant rock, and Heathcliff chases after her. He realizes what she's doing, and then he comes up upon her, and she's, like, so embarrassed, and he takes her hand and puts it in his mouth, and
Yeah.
it's so hot, and then they don't hook up, so you're just like, "Oh my god, please, please hook up." So they're in love with each other, they wanna fuck the shit out of each other, and they just keep not doing it, but they just keep kind of wandering the grounds being hot. And meanwhile, they need money, so Heathcliff and Kathy can't be together because he's poor, and there's a new neighbor who moves into this estate close by, and he has all this money, and so she's like, "I'm gonna go marry him," and Heathcliff is like, "Don't." He says all these romantic things to her, and she goes over there to spy on the new neighbor and falls and breaks her foot or something, and so they take her in, and she has to stay there, and while she's staying there, the guy whose house it is, he falls in love with her, and they're going to be together, and Heathcliff is very upset. Meanwhile, there's 2 other female characters circling. There's a woman who works for Kathy's father, and she's basically like Kathy's confidant, but she's the help. Her character's name is Nellie Dean. She's the narrator of the book. They're, like, kind of best friends, but she's still very much the help, and then Kathy gets mad at her and is like, "No one's gonna ever love you." She's so fucking mean to her, and then she fires her. I mean, there's a lot going on with that, but then also Nellie is a little conniving as well, because Kathy says something mean to Nellie, and Nellie's mad, and then Heathcliff comes over to the house. He's, like, outside. He's listening to a conversation that Kathy and Nellie are having about the neighbor, and Nellie knows that Heathcliff can hear them, but Kathy doesn't, and Kathy says, like, "I love Heathcliff, but we can't be together because he's poor. I am gonna marry the neighbor." And Nellie lets her say that. Heathcliff hears it, runs off, and then after Heathcliff runs off, Kathy's like, "Oh, but no, I love Heathcliff." But so Nellie, like, lets Heathcliff hear the not the
You know,
full
that same scene happened in 1939, but
okay.
I didn't take it as her being malicious, but maybe I'm just being stupid. I don't know why I'm pretty sure she knew Heathcliff was outside the door, but, like, so Kathy's like, "I can't marry him. He's, he's just a savage, and I need to marry this rich guy," and, um And then she goes, "But I love Heathcliff 'cause he's me and I am him and we are one," and Kathy gets, like, real crazy eyes, and she's like, "We're the same person," and then there's, like, thunder and lightning behind her, and then Ellen is like, she just kinda sits there like, "I need to get a new job."
Right. It's funny. Yeah, this poor woman needs a new job. The other female character, Isabella, lives at the rich guy's house.
1939, she's the younger sister of the guy Kathy married.
That would actually make sense. Maybe she is the younger sister.
But I had to look that up because I was like, "Who the fuck is Isabella? Where did she come from?"
Yeah, I was wondering who she was. Yes, I was wondering who she was and where she came from. But so there, and she's a bit of a weirdo. So Kathy marries the rich guy. Heathcliff disappears for 5 years. She's devastated. He shows up 5 years later. She's pregnant. She just found out she's pregnant. She's so mad that he was gone, but he's now rich and he's cut his hair. And now he just looks, I thought he was way hotter with the long hair because now he just looks really scrawny and skinny to me. But he's cut his hair. He's put on a suit. He's fixed his teeth and he's got money now and he's pursuing Kathy. He doesn't know she's pregnant. And then Isabella is like, that's the hottest guy I've ever seen. And Kathy is all pissed off, basically like, the boy is mine. But she's like, well, you're married. Kathy and Heathcliff finally hook up. They finally start hooking up. And then there's just like a while of them fucking everywhere. And then she's like, okay, I'm so sorry. I have to end this. It's just too late. And he finds out she's pregnant. And then he was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll raise this baby, which I thought was kind of cool. And then she's just like, no, we're ending this. And she ends it. And then he goes and climbs into Isabella's window. And he's like, hi. And she's like, stoked he's there. And he's like, have you ever done this before? And she's like, no. And there's this pretty interesting scene where he's just like, I'm only going to marry you to make Kathy jealous. Do you want me to stop? And she's like, no. He basically just tells her everything. He's like, I'm never going to love you. I'm in love with Kathy. I'm going to marry you. We're going to have sex right now, but only to make Kathy jealous. Do you want me to stop? And she's like, no. And so then they hook up. They get married. And then he buys Wuthering Heights, Kathy's father's estate. The father has died. He moves into that estate with Isabella. And then they start this really fucked up sexual thing where at one point they're over there and she's like chained on the floor like a dog, panting. It's kind of weird. I'm assuming in the 1939 version, Heathcliff doesn't chain Isabella like a dog.
He was a cat. She's like, "Meow."
It was consensual at first, at least. I mean, she's a virgin, she's young, she's naive, she thinks he's really hot. So I get that their relationship was consensual, but then they go to this house and it's just like fucked up and dark and seems like depraved. And he doesn't love her and she's just on the floor being a dog going like for him and writing letters for him to Kathy. I was really
Like part
disappointed.
secretary. That's kinda cool.
I just wasn't really clear on how much she was enjoying the arrangement. It just made me not like him. I was just like, it's like, and I said that to like one of my mom friends after we watched it, and they were like, "Why? Like, that's what he's into. Like, people are into weird stuff. Like, that's totally okay." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I just didn't want him to be into weird stuff." Like, it just made me not really like his character because I wasn't really clear. I just felt bad for her, for Isabella, for his wife, because it just didn't seem like
Well, I
she.
think the whole idea of the story was that Isabella gets tied into, like, everything he does to, like, take revenge on that family, so she's just part of it. So that didn't, like, happen in the 1939 one where he, like, made her, like, where she was submissive, like, sex slave, but the whole thing is the house gets darker because, like, it's not him and Kathy together, and so
Mm.
with all of their back and forth and their bullshit, it just creates this dark atmosphere, and that's so when this stranger happens upon the house at the beginning, it's, like, this really scary, like, everyone seems pretty miserable, like, and everybody
Mhm.
was, and it's just, like, all the life and joy had left the house.
Well, there was no life and joy in the Wuthering Heights house ever because of the father. The father was just this gross alcoholic, and he
Oh,
let Wuthering Heights fall into ruins before Heathcliff purchased it. And then it was like Heathcliff bought it and you're thinking he has money, he's going to fix it up, but you go there and it still looks like dark and gross because he's just in there with
I love
Isabella.
this. It's like part secretary, part Saltburn. Like he just kind of takes over and he eats the rich in a way, and like, and then he has this secretary type relationship with Isabella, and it's dark, it's horrible, but it's also like I don't know, it's kind of interesting.
Maybe it's satisfying. I mean, I'd be curious to your I was just, like, really grossed out by it. I didn't made me not like him, and it made me
Sure.
worried for her. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Is she okay?" And I was like, "And he's just a jerk." Like, there's a scene where he's, like, gonna fuck her, Isabella, on the table, and one of the staff members comes in, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." He's like, "No, you can stay." And if she's into it, okay, but I just wasn't really clear on how into it she was versus just, like, inexperienced she was, and it just all felt I just felt bad for her, and
Yeah.
I liked him when he was, like, shoveling hay around sweaty and shirtless with his long hair, and he's just, like, in love with Kathy and just, like, genuinely just loves her, and he's
That's
so
really
sweet when he's a kid, he's, like, stands up for her. I liked him up until the sex stuff with Isabella, and then I felt sorry for him again in the end. After Isabella and Heathcliff get married, Kathy is so upset and so distraught she won't get out of bed. And then Nellie comes in one day and she's like, "That's it. Get out of bed." And then she realizes that Kathy's actually really sick. The baby has died inside of her. Jacob hears this news and races to her side and lays in bed with her, and it's very sad. And you feel really
who's
sorry for him.
Jacob Heathcliff, you
Oh,
mean?
sorry, Heathcliff, sorry, Heathcliff. Heathcliff rushes to her side and is like pulls down the sheet, she's dead, and he's just like, "Someone call a doctor," and he's like, "No, don't leave me," crying, kissing her, and she's dead, and it's, like, very, very sad, and that's the end of the movie, and the movie ends there. I left, like, so bummed out. I was like, "What's the point of this movie?"
Yeah.
Is Heathcliff fully open with Isabella in the 1939 version that he's in love with Kathy and he's gonna marry Isabella, but only to make Kathy jealous?
I don't think he's that explicit, no. Everyone knows how in love with each other they are. And, like, so, like, Kathy's husband sort of, like, puts up with it. And he's like, "Well, you're mine, so, like, whatever." So he's, like, not all
Mhm.
that jealous, but yeah, I don't think he's as explicit as that. And I don't think there wasn't as much of that, like, sexual power play. There wasn't any sexual power play. I watched a very dull version of Wuthering Heights, apparently. There's a lot of, like, Heathcliff, and he's like, "Kathy." And then there's a lot of music throughout the whole thing. That's the part that bugged me that I had a hard time with was this the musical score didn't stop at any point. It was just always under everything,
Oh, that's
and I just
interesting.
found that very tiring, so I had to watch it 20 minutes at a time.
Charlie XCX didn't do the soundtrack.
No.
How does Kathy die in your version?
She's sick, like a fever and some shit.
And then she just dies.
She's in bed, she's bedridden. She still looks beautiful, and then Heathcliff is like, "Is there something wrong with Kathy?" And then so he runs off and leaves Isabella there, to go
Mhm.
see Kathy, and when he walks in, Kathy gets these crazy eyes. It's almost like the director was like, be happy to see him, be surprised to see him, be mad and angry to see him, and she just went it's the weirdest face I've ever she
All
just
the things
she
just
got a
ring.
her face got crazy, and then, Heathcliff is like, "I love you," and she's like, "I love you," and they have their little moment, and then the helper comes in, and she's like, "He's coming about Kathy's husband, I guess," but then he doesn't show up for another, like, 5, 10 minutes, and they still have their moment in time, and then
And then she dies?
she dies, he's mourning over her, he's like, "I love you, I've always loved you, I love you," and then her husband's at the foot of her bed, kinda being, like, cucked in the whole thing. And everybody's just crying around her, yeah.
Okay. It's so sad that I'm like, what's the point and why are we so obsessed with the story? Why is there 37 versions of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
where there's these two people love each other, they can't be together, they're not going to be together, and she dies? Like, I just don't understand the whole like I just left with such a sad feeling in my stomach. I didn't really understand the point of it. I didn't really understand if I was supposed to still like Kathy after seeing the way that Kathy treated Nellie, and I was mad that I didn't like Heathcliff's character anymore, and I don't know if I'm justified in that or not. I don't realize how much of a prude I am until I see stuff like this. The secretary, they're both into it, and it just wasn't clear to me how into it she was. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell because it seemed like she just thought he was really hot and was just like, "Well, this is all I can get." And then it just seemed like I just wanted someone to come get her out of there, and then I just wanted him to not have put someone in that situation.
Does he have to be someone you like in the end? Like, you know,
Well,
because
right.
I think about to The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and stuff like
Mhm.
where they're like anti-heroes. Like you're still rooting for them, but by the end of it, you're like, he is a monster.
I'm also wondering, do I like Kathy? I don't know how much I liked either of them.
But then do you think the way Heathcliff treated Isabel was his kind of redeeming how pushed around he was by her and her family? So he's like taking power and control back through Isabel.
Sure. I mean, he was definitely pushed around by her and her family. I mean, they were both pushed around by her father. Like, I think Kathy was just as much a victim of her father as Heathcliff was. So, yes, I could see Heathcliff getting revenge through Isabella, but I just felt badly for Isabella. It's just got to be so weird to just to debase yourself on the level of like, I only love this other person. I'm only gonna have sex with you to make this other person jealous. What a bummer to spend your
Yeah,
life married to somebody who, like, does he spend any time, like, worrying about her sexual pleasure? Is he going down on her? Like, what's he do? You know, he's letting the help watch him fuck her. He's chaining her up and having her, like, pant like a dog and write letters to the woman he loves. Is she into that? What is she getting out of it? Just left really worried about Isabel.
also, if I were Kathy, yeah, if I were Kathy, I wouldn't at all be jealous because it's like, God, you sure are doing a lot to make me jealous. Be like, damn, this guy fucking loves me.
It was just like it's like Romeo and Juliet, you know, there was just this, like, tragic miscommunication. And so you
Yeah.
do feel really bad for them for a while, but then she's kind of mean and annoying, and then he's kind of a sexual deviant. So it's like, okay, well, whatever. Everyone dies in the end.
All right. So that's made you very sad, I see.
Yeah, I left, like, just I was like, I left there, like, needing a palate cleanser,
Yeah. It
which
sounds it. I mean, I would need that too. It does sound pretty disturbing, especially after the opening scene.
for the questions, do we do Kathy or do we do Isabella?
I could do Kathy, you could do Isabella.
What does she do?
Nope. I don't think anything. She's a kept woman or something.
I guess most women back then, if you were of a certain class, you didn't work. Okay, what does she want?
They have like these little fantasy plays, and I think she's some sort of queen or princess, and then they're like watching people dance, and she's like, I want to dress like that. And like, I don't know why she can't just have it because it seems like she has money.
In 2026, they don't have money. They're in trouble.
No, her father dies, but it feels like she's never struggling for money. There's never like Gone with the Wind thing where he's like, "What happened to your manicure?" And she's like, "I'm too poor for a manicure."
There's a bit of the Gone with the Wind in the 2026 one. That's funny. Okay, so and Isabella wants she's lonely, she wants friends. Isabella wants Kathy to be her friend and she wants Heathcliff.
Okay.
Does she have any friends?
No, Kathy has no friends. She has Ellen.
The help. Right. That's true in 2026 as well. Isabella does not have any friends, and she really could use one to save her ass from this weirdo guy.
Yeah.
Is he good for her?
No. Is he someone who will lift you up in life? That's actually a really good question about like what does good for her mean. I don't think he's going to be like, you should write more poetry. I think that your writing is incredible. Like they fantasize together. That's what I saw them do. They go off to the rocks and like dream of a better life, like but an impossible life. And,
Mhm.
they were really passionate about each other. But is he good for her? Like, no.
The kind of person that would be good for you in the late 1800s maybe would be a little bit different than today. Back then, like, you're just trying to not get the plague.
Yeah. He seems like a pretty bad person.
In 1939?
No, in the 2026 one. In 1939.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, they kind of alluded to all this, like, she was like, "He was horrible to me," and, like, I'm like, I didn't see that scene. You guys cut too many scenes. I didn't see him, like, telling her off or being like, "You're a dumb cunt," or I didn't see anything like that,
Yeah. Who
But,
said
like,
Kathy says he was horrible to me? About
I
Heathcliff?
think she said he was horrible about her, like, he was, like, saying some really mean stuff when he was obviously probably hurt because she probably
Mhm,
said, "I'm marrying this other guy," and he said some mean
mhm,
stuff. The thing is, I don't remember seeing any of that. God, someone's gonna if they're watching this, they're like, "It was, like, 20 minutes in," and I'm like, "Nope, missed it." But I don't remember any of this stuff, but if he was like, awful to her when she said she was getting married,
mhm,
then he's probably not good for her.
mm. I think the 2026 version, when they were kids, he was so sweet to her. If he's in there somewhere, then I think he's good for her.
If someone can treat another woman like that, if he's, like, treating her like she's a dog, what like, in what world is it being well, that was her, I mean, this is Kathy. I'm gonna be nice to Kathy.
Yeah,
That's just in him.
you just should have seen him when he was a little kid. He was so
I
sweet.
did. I thought he was very
Uh,
nice, sure, I don't know, but he was, like, just marrying someone to get revenge on somebody else and then treating them like a sex slave.
but she could have been into like maybe she was into it. Maybe she liked it.
He did it to be horrible for all
Yeah,
he did it for all the wrong reasons.
he was lashing out. I want to believe that the little kid Heathcliff and the little kid Kathy, in there somewhere, and those two are like meant to be and could be good for each other, but they were both insufferable as adults at different times to different
Well, they
people.
were together in death, so maybe that's when their little kids' sides came back out and, like, they were
There you
just
go. Yeah, because she's shitty to Nellie and
yeah,
her husband, and
yeah,
he's shitty to Isabella.
yeah,
So maybe they deserve each other
yeah,
in death.
yeah.
But then is he good for her for Isabella? I absolutely not. I
No.
just want poor Isabella to go find somebody else. She doesn't know that she can be treated well.
In the 1939 version, they have this dark, sad house, so no, he's not good for her at all.
They have a dark, sad house in 2026 as well, but it was never not dark and sad. So Heathcliff is really not good for these gals. Okay, does she arc?
No, she dies.
Well, Isabel went from being like this virginal, naive weirdo to being a naive weirdo in a weird sex relationship. So the last question would be reframe it as if it's her story, and then the how would we do it? Insufferable people being insufferable. Shitty people. It's like shitty people being shitty to each other for 2 hours.
Yeah, girl realizes passion is not enough.
Really hot people not having sex when they should have, and then being shitty to other people in their orbit, just being super hot and then dying. So I guess how we would do it, I mean, I just would choose a different story. Do you find it
Alright.
inspiring? Like, what would you have done differently? Or why do you think people keep making this movie?
I mean, it's a good story. The story's got good bones. I can see why people will keep redoing it. I personally don't wanna redo the story. I think it's been done enough. I was thinking I could play, like, something Bette Midler has done. I called Bette Midler again. Somebody was like, "You remind me of Bette Midler." I'm like, "Fine, that's fine." Did she do Funny Girl? I'm gonna redo Funny Girl. Or is that Barbara Streisand?
I always get them
Me too, thank
confused.
you, thank God, I
Yeah,
thought I was the only one.
I
Alright, let's
think
end
that
this because
okay, yeah.
huh? Yeah.
Okay, yep, yep. Okay, so that's Wuthering Heights.
If you wanna support us or send us tips, you can do so at Ko-fi, ko-fi, / the nag pod. Or if you wanna send us responses or suggestions, we're on all the socials at the nag pod and then thenagpod@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.